No extra time exercises. Have you heard of these? I have been doing them for a little while and then I heard them labeled that way and I was like, that makes so much sense to call it that. Let's talk about it. I'm Katerina. Hi there. This is Level Up Life Project and we are at day 15 of my 28-day healthy waist slimming challenge, which I'm doing primarily for myself, but sharing the strategies that I'm using with you in case, with your doctor's approval, you want to try any of them as well. So, day 15 means that it has been just over 2 weeks since I started this challenge, and I wanted to share some results with y'all before I get into talking a little bit more about those no extra time exercises. I am thrilled with the results so far. I had been in a plateau probably almost a year, which I was somewhat okay with. Like, I'm very much at this point in my life against like extreme dieting or forcing things in really like have to get this number down type way. But anyway, don't want to spend too much time on this. Um, really excited to see the strategies, the healthy strategies, showing results. In the past 2 weeks, I have lost 3.9 pounds. And as I mentioned on the first day, I recommended doing 2 measurements, which the weight, again, is not really the focus of this, but just happy to share. Um, so, anyway, but 2 measurements, one at the belly button and one at the smallest part of your waist. And interestingly, I've lost an inch from each of those. And to keep this like without getting skewed, my strategy and what I encourage also, because it can be good for like releasing tension, help other organs and parts of your body, is to get in the practice of releasing the belly, like not holding it in, not like sucking it in to look slimmer, but releasing the belly. And that's how you take your measurement. And then also like doing that throughout your day. But anyway, if you have been doing this, and whether it's, right now while I am, or you're seeing these videos and doing it, please comment and share what your results are. I would love to celebrate with you and what you have seen happen by bringing these healthy changes into your life. So anyway, another one that I've been doing is these no extra time exercises. I started them really more around the idea of mobility, like time to do extra mobility work, but I have been using those times to do kind of more like exercise type movements. So what are we talking about? We're talking about using the times when you're washing your hands, or you're mixing eggs, or sauteing your chicken, or waiting for something in the microwave, or um, for me, I have an adjustable desk. So these are things you could do like while you're sitting down somewhere. There are ones you can do seated that are nearly imperceptible or just kind of look like fidgeting. Um, and then with the standing desk, like I'll go from sitting down to standing up and like back and forth throughout the day. And so, again, standing up. So let me give you a few examples. There's so many things you could do depending on how much you're willing to look like you're exercising in these just random times. It's just really a matter of bringing awareness to those moments. So think about some triggers. So I'll tell you, a trigger for me is every time I'm going to wash my hands and look at myself in the mirror, it's like, okay, what are we going to be doing? Um, you can put on a ring to be your trigger, or a bracelet, or put a little post-it note if there's like a certain area, like I mentioned, the bathroom, the kitchen, your desk. There may be certain areas where you're like, man, if I brought in some awareness, I could do some no extra time exercises. So let's talk about a few examples, and then I want to take up today so I could show y'all at the end a better example of what I talked about 2 days ago with the knowing whether your lymphatic system needs some help. So we'll hopefully remember to do that at the end. Um, so let's, and in fact, speaking of triggers, I'm going to move my watch to the other side to try to help myself remember. I want to talk about that at the end. All right, so let's talk about some of these no extra time exercises. So for when you are standing, the easiest is just to march in place. right? Like, and again, this could be while you're doing something else. I'm doing my eggs, or I'm sauteing my chicken and moving, whatever you're doing, you could be walking while you do it, just marching in place. You could change this to high knees. Get some high knees, get some like rotations. You could keep the leg up and just move that way, or just standing on one leg is also like a static way of working the other leg. Um, so those are like some leg ones. You could do, kind of depending on, like, if you're waiting in line and just want to be like, oh, I'm waiting in line, just gonna move this way and activate some of that abdominal twist that we've talked about. um, I've mentioned a couple times I like to dance, so like sometimes when I'm cooking or whatever, I'm there doing like a salsa step while I cook, right? Don't need your hands to do a salsa step, y'all. But whatever the thing is for you, walking down the hall, sometimes I'll do this. This is another way to drain your lymphatic system. Getting motion there, like I mentioned, your armpits are a place where you have a bunch of lymph nodes all through the neck and everything. You're just walking down the hall anyway. If you're not carrying anything, what are your arms doing? They're just hanging out. Let them work for you. Like, let that time work for you without, because that's a big hurdle for some people, is, oh, I don't have time to exercise. I don't, like yesterday we talked about doing legs up the wall. I don't have time to take 15 minutes and do legs up the wall. I hear you. I'm busy too, but often we find times for other things, like times to take a few minutes on Facebook and scroll. Like, that's a huge time where you could bring in no extra time exercises. Whereas, like, okay, if that's your mentally, I need to check on everything or catch up on my feed, like, you can be on your phone and marching in place. I'm still, still going. You can be on your phone and be legs up the wall or whatever. Um, I'm not gonna grab a chair because I would have to do a bunch of adjustments, but some seated ones are, and this could be a standing one too, but I do like seated calf raises. So calf raise is where you come up on your toes, come down. You want your ankles to stay steady. You could do that in a seated position. It's just kind of like pumping your calves. Um, and other seated ones, and these can be done standing too, but it's just like clenching different muscle groups. Good one to work on being able to clench in isolation is the glutes. Being able to activate your abs and then relax. If you do any like clenching type ones, make sure you include as part of it also relaxing after. Rolling your shoulders, that can be a good one. Like, these are not necessarily working on your waistline specific, but part of, if you have if you want to reduce your waistline, part of what's there is excess fat. And part of the process of burning fat is getting more active throughout your day, not just, okay, 20, 30, 60 minutes of exercise and then the rest of the day I'm sedentary. That's not the most effective path. It's actually being active all throughout your day. But it doesn't have to be the same repetitive thing. And I encourage you, I'm giving several examples because I encourage you to make it so that it's not the same repetitive thing. One idea, by the way, that does involve the activating the abs is when you're sitting and you put something like a book or a ball or a yoga block between your knees. Like, squeeze it and relax, not to where it drops, but just like where you're not squeezing as hard, squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax. That's going to activate your lower abs. Or like doing a longer hold, just there's so many things if you're into exercise. And I have to tell you that for myself, I've been seeing like exercise moves, stretching moves, alignment moves, mobility moves in my Instagram feed is what I've been on most, like the past couple of years, for so long. And I kept like, save this to whatever um, little label. And the that's great in the sense that it gets your mind like on that lane, but then you want to also apply. And so many of them, yeah, you need two hands. Like, there's certain moves where you're like getting down on the ground or whatever. But there are a lot of them where either just as it is or a modified version can just be like something you squeeze in while you're waiting on other moments of your day. Um, One that I'll share as far as like uh, when I'm washing my hands, so that uh, and again, it depends on like, are you willing to look like you're exercising? Like doing squats while I'm washing my hands, like I can keep my hands at the same level while I do some squats with my legs. Like there's so many, it just depends on what you feel like working on and um, thinking about. So you may already have like a repertoire of ideas in your mind, and it's just bringing that awareness that I don't have to set aside extra time. I could just do this while I'm doing something else that's already part of my day, or um, while I'm waiting for other things that are just part of my day. I have to wait for, you know, I have to wait in line at the store, or I have to wait on my kid. I know we're not in school right now, this is the summer, but like if you pick up and drop off your kid, like you may be waiting in that line. um, you know, do some clenches, do some hand squeeze, like the hand squeezes. There's so many different things where you could just activate different muscles, and all of those little movements add up, and they also add up in when you engage muscle that tells your body keep that muscle strong or even grow that muscle. And muscle requires more energy than fat just to exist. So that means like even once you engage and activate a muscle and it grows, just being at rest, you'll be using more energy than if that muscle stayed smaller. So that is the thought for today. Thanks for watching, and the demonstration of what I had mentioned with the lymphatics. I'm going to get a little closer. So um, if you look here, mine is kind of like flat in this pose. So this was, how can you know how well, one indication that to help you know how well your lymphatic system is doing. So you bring your arm to this like 90-degree position and then flip down, and you want to see, does it go in, right? So again, this is up, it's kind of flat, and down, you see how it indents. And then there are people that it indents a lot more, but there was a time where even going down, mine didn't. Like there was a time when at like up like this, mine was bulging, and then down it was just flat. So I've seen progress, and you know, you can check the other side and make sure it's like pretty much even. You want to see it in. You know, be careful with your shoulders. That's like a internal shoulder rotation you're doing there. So stay aware of what your shoulders are good with. But that is what I was explaining yesterday when I, you know, 2 days ago I had on a long sleeve shirt and I was talking about that. So I did just want to come back and explain that in a way I could actually demonstrate it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being here with me in this challenge, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.